Thank you, everyone, for joining us for day 2 of the 2019 Twin Cities Film Festival. We are here at the Shops at Westplan and the Showplace Icon Theater. And thank you to our red carpet sponsors this year. It's Ballard Spahr. Make sure you check them out as well, because today is going to be a really fun day. Because we kicked it off. We just hit the ground running yesterday. And today we get to actually take a little more time with some of our filmmakers. And we are very happy to have Zachary Weil. You are the writer and director of We Are Apollo, correct?
When We Were Apollo, correct.
When We Were Apollo.
Yep.
Now, when I was watching bits and pieces of your documentary, and we really appreciate you being part of our film festival, but telling the story of, we do know about the Apollo program, but you actually found so much more information that maybe we were missed.
Well, I think what gets overlooked, and I don't think it's intentional, because it's really easy to focus on, you know, the wonderful things that the astronauts accomplished and figureheads like JFK were able to achieve. But, you know, Apollo's workforce, 400,000 people coming together under this banner and getting us to the moon. There are stories in there, and this film only really begins to kind of, you know, chip away at that amazing block of material. So, you know, yeah, it's an intimate, it's a personal look at the program, because these are their memories. These are these everyday people, engineers and technicians and builders, and what they remember and what their lives were like during that time.
And Zachary, how were you able to pare down these stories, and how did you decide what voices you wanted to make sure were heard in your particular documentary?
Well, one thing that was really important to me was actually focusing on the story of Huntsville, Alabama. A lot of people know about the fact that there's a big space center in Houston, Texas, and the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, obviously. But in northern Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, this is the community that built the Saturn V moon rocket. This is where Werner von Braun and the German scientists were relocated after the war. So in many ways, this is actually where the story of Apollo was born. And I did really want to try to capture that, because, again, I feel like that that is a story that gets overlooked. So that was one place that we started. The University of Alabama at Huntsville was really helpful in getting us going on the ground there. And then at the Kennedy Space Center, you know, the NASA alumni chapter was really helpful. The former president there started to put me in touch with a lot of people that still live in the community today. So. Well,
Zachary, it also sounds like you were really trying to make sure that you showcased the people who weren't the technical people that we already see in films, and the people that had already gotten the spotlight. So how did you go, well, I want to talk about Betty, who was in this one, or talk about these characters? How did you decide what you're going to focus on?
I really wish I could take credit and say that that was an intentional choice. A lot of it was just, you know, meeting someone, and, you know, and once I gave them an idea of the story that I wanted to try to tell, they said, oh, you know, you should really speak to this person. And, you know, and eventually you get lucky and you meet somebody who just, you know, not only has a great story, but just has a great way of explaining it on camera. And, you know, all of these people were special, but, you know, ultimately, yeah, there were a handful of them that I thought could, you know, not only have a great story to tell, but could tell it in a way that made people, when they look at it, say, I can see maybe a part of myself in what they're doing. Maybe I obviously didn't work on getting us to the moon, but I too, you know, work in administration, or I too am a construction worker, or, you know, and that was kind of the goal too, was to say that, you know, in some way, we all, you know, have these strengths of ours, and we can't do it alone, but when enough of us come together, we can do amazing things.
That is a wonderful story. And the other thing I thought was really interesting is whenever we talk to one of our documentary filmmakers, when you take on a task where you go, I'm trying to distill years of activity into a storyline that people can follow, and usually make it within, you know, 90 minutes to 120 minutes, how do you sit there and come up with a cohesive work that then is also fascinating for your viewers?
It was really important to me that this story wasn't done through narration. I didn't want to write a script. I wanted the people that I interviewed to tell the story of Apollo in the best way that they could. So as I started to look at the material, you know, this person actually happened to have a great, you know, way of talking about Apollo 8, and this person had a great way of talking about the Kennedy assassination, and things just sort of organically started to take shape. It was hard, you know, at the last month or so, you know, I did have to throw some material on the floor that I thought was going to be really interesting. one guy in particular, he was in charge of putting the little camera that sat at the bottom of one of the stages, and it actually was responsible for showing one of the most iconic films that we've ever seen, the stage separation of the Saturn V. I interviewed him, and I wanted to tell his story, but I couldn't ultimately get it in the film. So there is this treasure trove of great material, but ultimately, yeah, it needed to kind of come together. And if we did go off on a tangent to try to talk about something, we did have to bring it back to create that overall narrative arc for the story of Apollo. Yeah.
Well, we definitely appreciate this historic piece that we see about When We Were Apollo. So what is the future for your documentary?
Well, we were really fortunate this past summer. We were able to get it on PBS in time for the 50th anniversary, which was wonderful. Mm-hmm. And we've had some international broadcasts that have been great. Right now, the important thing is to get it to get more eyes on it. And so we have Blu-rays and DVDs for sale. We're just starting to reach out to the academic sector, because I think that ultimately where this piece really can shine is in colleges and universities, public libraries, and places where the voices of these folks can be preserved. So,
well, Zachary, please make sure you share with everybody how they can get a copy of When We Were Apollo.
If you go to whenwewereapollo.com. We have it for sale there on Blu-ray and DVD. You can also go right now on Amazon Prime. It's streaming, so if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can watch it for free right now and buy a digital copy. So. And
we're also going to do a little mini shout out to the University of Minnesota and Metropolitan State University and all our great institutions here. You need to check out his documentary.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please do. Please do. Please do.
Well, Zachary, we appreciate you being part of the 2019 Twin Cities Film Fest. Thank you for showcasing your film here, and we really look forward to seeing it in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back here at the Twin Cities Film Fest Day 2 on the Ballard Spahr red carpet. We'll see you again soon.